I have chosen the most rogue time in my life to start filming videos. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm 25 and I'm from Australia. I have no idea what I'm doing. So these are not my books. This is not my house. This is not my city, let alone my country or my continent. I'm armed with my phone and my e-reader. Obviously, perfect time to start a YouTube channel talking about books. For some context, I have been traveling the world. I've been backpacking Europe since February at the start of this year, so it's been 10 months. I quit my job in January that I'd been working at for 7 years. First time in my adult life that I've ever been unemployed, so I read more books than ever before this year. My passion for reading is greater than it has ever been, and I've always loved the booktube community. It's something that I've found comfort in for a really, really long time. And I figured, while I'm unemployed and I've got some freedom, why not start a booktube? So that's why I'm in a very random place. I'm currently in the Czech Republic, have been for Christmas. And I guess if you're interested, then let's get into the new booktuber tag. Why did I start this channel? I love the idea of being able to come on here and talk about what I'm reading and get feedback from people that love books just as much as I do. I've got a lot of friends in my life that love to read as well. Different friends that enjoy different genres that I'm interested in, but it's just never enough, is it? Like, I'll always be happy to have more people to yap about books with. There's a few things that I enjoy reading that I don't have any overlap with the people in my life, and I would love to talk about it. I also think that sitting down and diving a little bit deeper into the books that I finish will be good for me. I've kind of gotten into the habit this year of finishing a book and diving straight into the next one without really digesting it. Even when I love the book, or some of them leave me thinking, some of them leave me emotional, I don't think I'm appreciating them to the best of my ability. Any kind of critical thinking that I could be doing about these books, some things I read do not require that. Some things do. And I just think that coming on, talking through the things that I love, that I don't love, anything along those lines, I think it will help me really appreciate more the content that I'm consuming and probably be a bit more mindful about it, which I would love. And I think the long form of YouTube videos suits me the best in terms of the depth you can reach with your thoughts. I prefer a slower lifestyle generally. That's how I spend my days. I like to take my time. I can very easily talk for a long time about these books. So yeah, I think longer content, cozier, chattier, comforting content appeals to me the most. That's what I enjoy watching. So it makes sense that that's what I want to read. Read? Film. What are some fun and unique things that I can bring to booktube? I don't know how possible it is to do anything unique on the internet these days, but that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile, because I will watch people do the same things over and over and over if it's something that I enjoy. The most unique thing that I think is happening in my life right now is the fact that I am traveling. I don't know where I'm going to be next, so it'll be as much of a surprise for you as it is for me. Hopefully I can share some cool places. I've seen some amazing bookstores. I read absolutely everywhere I go. And another thing I've been doing has been purchasing a book from every country that I've visited, in English, obviously, but written by an author from that country and translated. I haven't read any of those yet. 2026 is the year that I want to start reading them. So I have a really big goal of diversifying the content that I'm consuming. Different perspectives, different nationalities of authors, different walks of life. I think there's a lot of things that are worth exploring in literature. I love reading dumb, lighthearted stuff as well, so there's quite a variety. But yeah, reading all those international books and seeing some international places is probably the most unique thing that I'm going to be doing. And yeah, I like to think I'm quite open-minded and curious when it comes to books. I am willing to read just about anything. So I'm hoping that's going to be fun for all of us. What do I love about reading? First thing that comes to mind as someone who grew up on fantasy books is escapism. I think it's so incredible how an author can absolutely transport you into an entire new universe that is made of ink on paper. Will always blow my mind. You may not ever fully escape the real world based on the emotions and the struggles that can always relate back to everyday life, but there's something just so enchanting about the freedom and the mental peace that comes from stepping out of your own head, really. And the other thing I love about reading that I've loved more as I've grown up, I think it's one of the most powerful mediums of empathy. I don't think I would have the level of empathy I do as an adult if I wasn't a reader as a child. And I think it's a really, really important way to get different perspectives and explore the world outside of your closest circle, whether it be geographically or socially or based on your class or race or whatever. I think stepping into other people's shoes is always a really, really valuable tool. And I think the world will be a better place based on the higher our level of collective empathy gets, the better off we are. So I think that's a really special thing that people can bring to the table with writing. And I will always find it very impressive when people are willing to bare their souls or even just a part of their brain that they've nurtured so much and put onto paper and share it with the world. I think, I just think it's one of the most magical things in the world. And I will forever be grateful that I'm a reader. What book or series got me into reading? When I was very young, I was always read to as a child. It was very loved in my family. I have aunties and grandmas who were teachers, and it was just always a normal part of life. When I could read for myself, I remember absolutely loving the Rainbow Magic fairy books. I would absolutely devour them every time they came out. I loved the Magic Faraway Tree. Anything Enid Blyton really was a big favourite of mine. The most niche thing I can remember, this book series came to me like a vision last night when I was trying to remember the books that I loved as a kid. All I got was an image of a white hardcover book with a title and a cartoon drawing of a historical figure in the middle, specifically a woman in a hat, and I was pretty sure it was Eleanor Roosevelt. So there was a series of books about all sorts of people through history. I knew there was a Marie Curie, I knew there was a Hans Christian Andersen and an Abraham Lincoln. I had that image and those two characters to go off. I did the most vague Google searching of my life, but I found these books and they're called The Value Tales. And these authors wrote the life stories of all of these historical figures and assigned each of their lives to an important value. And I can remember the exact shelf of my school library that these books sat on. I have not thought about them in probably 17 years, but now that I've remembered them, I want to buy the whole set on eBay or something because, I love them so much. And I am still a history fan, so that probably fed into it a little bit. But those were my favourite books as a very young kid. Then as I got a bit older, my absolute favourite books that honestly I think still hold up. I have reread them as an adult and I still love them. The Percy Jackson series and every spin-off afterwards, I have read them all, except for the most recent releases. The Hunger Games and everything that's come since. I absolutely think that series stands the test of time and I could probably talk about it for hours, but I won't in this video. And potentially slightly more niche, is the Skullduggery Pleasant series that I discovered as a young teen and remained obsessed with as every subsequent book was released. And now there's more than I've read by a long shot. I may need to start from the beginning again now that it's been a while. Yeah, I don't think my taste has changed that much necessarily since I was a teenager, potentially just expanded a bit. And I think I went through what seems to be a pretty typical experience of late teenagehood to very early 20s reading slump and rediscovering my love for books around the time I was probably 23. I wouldn't say rediscovering, actually. I always knew I loved books. I still called myself a reader, even though I hadn't read a book in a few years. But then 2023 hit specifically, and I just decided, I don't know what clicked in my brain, but I just decided that I was going to start reading again, and I did. And thank God I made that decision, because here we are now, and very happy to be here. What questions would I ask my favourite booktubers? I think the first thing I would ask would probably be about the early days of booktube, starting to film videos, if they have any tips or tricks. I've never edited a thing in my life, so that's going to be a learning curve. If they have any advice for confidence or trying to get over some of the nerves that keep me playing with my hair, I should sit on my hands. Yeah, just any tips or tricks. The other thing I would ask them is, given that there's a few specific people that I've watched for a really long time and watched consume a lot of books, and I've learned what they love and don't love, I think I'd probably just ask for like an overall 3 favourite books of all time kind of thing. You get yearly favourites or monthly favourites, but all-time favourites, things like nostalgia, start to come into play. So I think that would be really interesting to know. What challenges do I think will be the hardest to overcome starting a booktube channel? This kind of ties into the last question for me, but getting over the nerves and potentially confidence issues, just getting comfortable with talking to a camera and getting used to the whole idea of putting myself on the internet, which I'm excited to do, but that doesn't take away the anxiety-inducing parts. I also think a big thing for me will be editing, because that's not something I have any experience with at all. So, especially because I'm going to be doing it on my phone, that may make it slightly more challenging. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, jump in the deep end, hope for the best, learn as you go, and everything's going to be fine. When did I start reading? This is my favourite thing. I started reading before I went to school, like before kindergarten or anything, because I have a big sister, 2 years older than me, and she was obviously reading before I was, and she wanted me to be involved. I am grateful to her for many, many things. Probably number one or a close second would be the fact that she helped teach me how to read when I was maybe 2 or 3. She got in early. She wanted someone she could talk to and be involved in books with when she was a literal toddler. So because of her, I could read before I could even remember. Where do I read? I read literally everywhere. I am now a proud Kobo owner. I didn't have this before I started my trip. I'd never been an ebook girl. I love my physical books. I love having the paper in my hands. But given that I'm traveling with one backpack for a very long time, and this tiny thing has maybe nearly 200 books on it, absolute lifesaver. And this means I can read anywhere. Back home, I was a big fan of sitting on the couch or lying in bed. 2 top spots, obviously. Comfy, always. But now that I've got this, I will read on buses and trains. I will read when I'm cooking and eating at restaurants. Like, genuinely anywhere you can imagine that I can have one hand holding this, I have read in that way, which probably helped like jump up the number of books that I've read this year. And it's been amazing. I'm a little bit converted to the ebook lifestyle. What kind of books do I like to read? So I'll always say fantasy first, because that was what I loved growing up, and it's still, I believe, the number one genre that I read. I do love high fantasy nowadays. Slightly reduced brain power, potentially. I find it a bit more intimidating, but any kind of fantasy I do love. Romantasy I'm not huge into. Generally, I prefer romance as much more of a subplot. But yeah, I think a goal for next year is to kind of jump into some of the bigger high fantasy series that I've been putting off because I'm intimidated. I also really want to keep broadening my horizons when it comes to genres. That's been a big thing I've done this year. I've made a big move towards literary fiction, so I think that's now my second highest genre. And I've tried to read a few thrillers, a few dystopians. I'm making a big effort to read some classics as well that have obviously always been on my radar. As a human being, I'm aware of them. So I think I've read about maybe 12 this year. I'll go through my 2025 books another time. But yeah, literary fiction, classics, and thriller are probably my most upcoming genres. And I'm not a non-fiction fan generally, because I think I've always considered it like a self-help genre. That's always what I was aware of, or like celebrity memoirs essentially, and I was never really that interested. But I've made an effort to kind of do a bit more research into non-fiction that would interest me, and I found that I actually prefer to consume it in audiobook format. I've listened to a few audiobooks that were autobiographies of very specific celebrities that I find particularly interesting or engaging, and I've loved them. And the other intersection I've found, I'm definitely not the only one in this front, but non-fiction on a very specific topic that I find interesting by an author that I find particularly engaging. The center of that Venn diagram is John Green specifically. I would listen to that man talk about toothbrushes for potentially 7 hours. I think he's one of the most engaging human beings on the planet. So that kind of non-fiction that's kind of personal, kind of educational, there's got to be more to it than just like, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I'm working on it. Like some history, some philanthropy kind of threads. I will keep you updated, but I'm getting there. I'm learning my tastes when it comes to that genre. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I'm doing my international reading thing as well. So we're kind of reaching, we're tasting a little bit of everything at the moment. We're broadening our horizons. What does my book collection look like right now in this space? Very depressing. My physical book collection is this. I got this for Christmas about 3 days ago, and I have this. That's everything. Obviously at home, the collection is much bigger, and I do very, very strongly miss my bookshelves. I don't know if I have photos. I'll try and put something here if I can find anything resembling my little stacks. I think potentially I've got around 300 books at home, and I'm really making an effort to finish reading my physical TBR before I eventually end up back at home buying more books. I share custody of some of my books with my sister because we do still live in the same house. So some of them are like half mine. But yeah, she's not with us at the moment, our lovely bookshelves, but I'll see what I can do in terms of showing you. That brings us to the end of the questions in the newbie tag. I definitely went on a few tangents, but now you just know me a little bit better. I had fun. I think I can get used to doing this with some practice. So I'm gonna go try and edit this into something presentable. It's been really nice making this first video. Please comment literally anything. If you've got a book to recommend me based on my old favorites, if you just want to say hi, I'm really excited to start making some friends and meeting people, and that's going to be it. So thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.